Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Minnesota Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Linda Hayen, and we're very glad to see everyone here today in person and online. We acknowledge that we all live, work, play, and strive to love one another on lands that are the ancestral, contemporary, and spiritual homelands to the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples. We extend our welcome this morning, especially to anyone who may be visiting us or still in the early stages of exploring our community. We invite you to fill out the visitor form in the lobby or the link to the one in the chat. Very good. Or if you're online. In the spirit of community, we now invite you to rise and greet one another briefly in the chat or in person with an elbow, a fist bump, a wave, however you want to do that. Before we light the chalice today, I would like to say a few words about what is going to be happening in the next few weeks. Next Sunday, Tom Ellinger, Carla Reese, and Maria Bavier will be leading the service, which will be our annual celebration of the Day of Remembrance. After that, there will be some changes that some of you would like to know about. Our minister, Reverend Laura Thompson, has been on sabbatical for the last 6 months. She will be returning on November 1st, so her first Sunday service will be November 6th. Now, I know some of you have not met her yet, and so I really encourage you to introduce yourself and get to know her. Come to that service, and there will be cake afterwards.
Good morning, I'm Fran Bohlke. Will you please join me for the chalice lighting words? They were written by Erica Hewitt. With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls.
Please join us for hymn number 188. We're going to sing one time all together in unison, and then we're going to sing it as a round and go through it 2 times. Follow your section leader, but this is going to be group 1 over here with Fran, group 2 in the middle with Heidi, and group 3 over here with me. If 1 or 2 people from group 2 wanted to join group 3, you can feel free to watch me instead. There's a very sparse amount of people over here, but we'll be strong. Come, come, whoever you are, wander, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again. worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no care again of despair. Come yet again, come. Nice job.
Way to go, number one.
Time for announcements, and again, we'll be doing announcements open mic style. If anyone has an announcement, please raise your hand, and an usher will bring your microphone, or you can come up here. I guess the microphones are up here, so you have to come up here, right? Oh, they have some back there too. Bring them back. Okay, bring them back, please. First announcement is we still need volunteer help on Sundays. We thank so much Gretchen and David and Jody, who volunteered to be ushers and greeters and bring treats today. And we'd love to continue that. So when we pass out the sign-up sheet, please sign up to help. Any announcements?
I am Steve. I'm glad to announce that this must be me somehow, but I don't know how. That we are actually getting a new furnace. One of our 4 furnaces is broken, the one under the stairs. What member is donating, it'll be installed tomorrow. So if anyone's here and you see some strange looking people walking around, don't call the police yet.
Good morning. For those of you who are interested in participating in a choral or musical experience, but don't want to commit to a full year, we are opening up a few rehearsals starting November 16th, which will be Wednesday evenings for an hour and a half and or Sunday mornings, whichever work for you. And we're just asking a minimum of 3 or 4 commitment rehearsals. And that will be then for us to sing at Music Sunday, which will be December 11th. We're really loving any tenors and basses, but we are also opening this up to any friends or family that you might want to invite to sing with us. You can just email me for more information.
Each week, we set aside a few minutes to share our joys and sorrows as a community. If you are here with us in person, I invite you to come up front to drop a stone into the water. Or not. Oh yeah, it's not, you really wouldn't hit the water, but anyway, drop a stone. If you'd like to share aloud, you can use the mic over there. Folks on Zoom can type their joys and sorrows into the chat and we will have someone read them aloud. Anybody have a joy or sorrow to share? Okay.
I'm Mary and I'm here to express joy that this place has opened up to us, to me. I look forward to hanging around and I like what's happening here. And also we have a sorrow. One of my dearest friends passed away it was on Thursday. And she was quite a bit younger than me. She was 57 and very, very lively and generous with others. Thank you. And I'm going to miss her very much, but I'm glad to be able to say we put a rose on the, I didn't think of bringing one here, but at the old UU. So thank you. Dawn Huberty, and her husband is certainly going to be at a loss, then it would be really nice to have some love and energy to him, and his name is Jim.
Thank you, Mary.
Got a joy and a sorrow. I'll start with the joy. I'm excited to share that Gracie, who for those who aren't familiar, is my youngest child. And she has made it to sectionals for cross country this season. And it likely ensures that they will go on to state too. So that race is this Thursday. So if you want to send her wishes for good speed and the rest of her team as well, I'm very proud of her. And I always say I get choked up watching her run because it brings me such joy. So that's the joy. The sorrow, and as the timing would have it, tonight marks the 23rd anniversary of my sister's death. So I'm just dropping a stone in honor of her memory. And her spirit lives on in so many ways, including in Gracie, who has my sister's name is Bernadette and Gracie's middle name is Bernadette. And I see lots of aspects of Bern in Gracie. So.
Thank you, Lark.
My name is Jean Simpson, and I have a joy that somebody donated a furnace.
No, yeah, amen, sister. Let us have, I guess that's it. Anything on chat? Boop. Let us have a moment of silence for the joys and sorrows that are unspoken, but in our hearts today. Please join us in the musical response.
These words are given by Victoria Weinstein. The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faiths traditions. To bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We will now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. The gifts of this congregation will be most gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward to take the offering? And there's also going to be a sign-up sheet for volunteers for ushers and greeters.
Each of us is welcome. No one is a stranger. No one is an outcast. No one is alone. Everything we do, when our hearts are grateful and our lives are faithful, makes a better world, one that we can call everybody's home. Juntos por amor, cada quien precioso. Nadie es un extraño, nadie sin colado, nadie sin calor. Cada paso fiel, con virtud y gozo, vamos construyendo un mundo mejor, lleno de color, como una flor. All of us are loved. Each of us is welcome. No one is a stranger. No one is an outcast. No one is alone. No one is alone. Everything we do, when our hearts are grateful and our lives are faithful, makes a better world, one that we can call everybody's home.
I don't know about you, but that song brought tears to my eyes. One thing we haven't mentioned, that the theme of October this year is courage. So we can kind of relate a lot of what we've been doing this month to courage, including what we're doing today. I'm going to first read this reading, which is perfect complement to your song you just sang. It's called Found While Lost by Eric W. Martinez-Resley. The beauty of the world is the mouth of a labyrinth, writes Simone Weil. We would be foolish not to follow its call. And so we enter the labyrinth, lured by the whiff of a dream still in the making, the possibility of a new relationship, the promise of a new career, the potential for a new beginning. We can never be sure what we will find once inside, but this much is certain. There will be times when the beauty of the world, and with it, the entrance to the labyrinth, unexpectedly disappear. Some relationships will disintegrate, some careers will dissatisfy, some beginnings will disappoint. Unable to find the labyrinth's opening, we often find ourselves in frantic search of an escape, fumbling for the next step, tiring ourselves out in the process. Disheartened, dispirited, we feel disoriented and we get lost. The question is not whether we will get lost in life, but rather how we will move through it in faith. Will we dwell on everything we have lost Or will we focus instead on everything that we have yet to find? When lost, perhaps the greatest question our faith asks of us is this: how will we be found? Once the time is ripe, the stars align, and the way begins to open, will we be ready to embrace the mystery anew? Will we choose to trust anew, to risk anew, to hope anew? Will we allow ourselves to yet again be drawn in, swept up, and taken over by that magic that makes life worth living? In the words of Simone Weil, for if we do not lose courage, if we go on walking, it is absolutely certain that we will finally arrive at the center of the labyrinth. And then she adds this very last little phrase, and there God is waiting. Now, the video that we're going to be showing you is made up of 3 short scenes from the play Gertrude, Stein, and a Companion, which was written by Wynne Wells in 1983. The play explores the 40-year relationship between Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas. I'm just going to give you a very short bit of history in case you're not familiar with these 2 names. Gertrude Stein was a novelist, playwright, poet, and art collector, and Alice was her partner, editor, and muse. They were both born in the United States, but they spent most of their adult lives in Paris in the early 1900s. 2 very notable things about them. One is they were both identified as female, but they lived openly as a married couple. They referred to each other as hubby and wifey. And the second thing is that they hosted gatherings on Saturday nights with many noteworthy artists and writers of the time. And they would sit around with all these people and discuss philosophy for hours, often heatedly. So we're going to show you this video, and then afterwards I'm going to say a few more words, and then I would like to have some discussion.
Gertrude died this afternoon.
It's true. I died this afternoon, 27th of July, 1946. Died this afternoon.
I wish to God we had gone together. Alice, I always fatuously believed that we would go together. A bomb, a shipwreck, anything, but just not this.
She'll understand eventually. I understood long ago. I wrote it. Dead is dead. That is what I wrote. Dead is dead. And it is. But dead is not done. Not gone.
I can almost hear her. Baby Woodjums. Almost.
Dead is dead.
Baby,
Mama Woodjums?
I can almost see her there, the way she always was there. But now she's gone and I'm all alone and there's nothing left. There's only what was.
Was there, Alice?
There was that presence.
When Alice and I first met, she thought I was a golden brown presence. That's how she always described me. She was a golden brown presence, Alice would say, and I was.
She was a golden brown presence, you see? She had this glint of gold in her brown hair, and she wore this large coral brooch pinned to her blouse. And I thought that when she spoke, and she spoke very little that first time.
It was in September of '07.
And when she laughed,
I laughed a great deal.
well, I thought that her voice came from that coral brooch. And oh my, she had such a full, deep, rich voice, velvety, almost like two voices, really, like a great contralto's, but unlike anyone else's voice.
She's understands. She's beginning to understand. She's finally understood. Always understood. Can you hear me now? Sometimes it takes some time, sometimes.
I was 30 years old when I first came to Europe, and I didn't plan to stay, but then I did stay. You see, I was a San Francisco girl, and after the earthquake, well, shortly after, I came to Europe with my friend Harriet. Well, she was more than an acquaintance or a companion, not really a friend. Well, I knew even then there was someone else somewhere. There was only Gertrude. But that was a little bit later. Harriet and I were on the train, and it was ghastly hot. It was so hot, I took off my lovely cerise corset and threw it out the train window. I have disliked train travel ever since.
When Alice first came there, we, and by we, I mean my brother Leo and myself, were living at 27 Rue des Fleurons in Paris. It was a pleasant place to live, and living there was pleasant. We had covered the walls with such excitement. There were pictures of Cézanne, Matisse, and Picasso, and we stacked them one above the other, and another, and another, and another, and another.
There was a large Tuscan table with claw legs and an enormous buffet in the style of Henry IV, and lots of valueless but interesting glass objects. Gertrude liked all sorts of things.
But the real things were the pictures. Never had such pictures been seen before. All of them together and each one of them alone. And never will they be seen like that again. Never together, only alone.
And it wasn't until later, after the wiping and the polishing of the furniture and the objects, that I began to fully appreciate their beauty and detail and proportion. Gertrude's things.
At first, it was only a mass of things to Alice.
At first, it was nothing but a mass of things all grouped together. Gertrude's things.
At first, it was only
Gertrude. At first, it was only Gertrude. It was only ever Gertrude. Only Gertrude. Gertrude.
I told you she would. She's beginning to understand. She has always understood. Your hand, my dear.
I finished.
Yes, but with what?
I've written to everyone about Basket.
Ah, yes. Poor Basket. Dear dog.
He was such a dear animal for being so famous. You know, I had grown to enjoy his depending upon me. And now there's no longer anyone to depend upon me. I need to be dependented.
You need what?
Dependented.
Dependented?
Dependented.
Where did you get such a word?
Well, it seems a good word. Is it not a good word?
Oh, I don't know if it's good or not. It's certainly delicious. Dependented, indeed. I like it. Dependented, indeed.
I have made a decision, well, sort of a decision, but I'm not certain I've decided, but I think I've decided that I want to go to heaven.
Alice, are you mad?
Because you will be there.
I will be in heaven?
I think where you are now is a sort of limbo. Bernard Fay says that eventually you will be released from limbo and allowed into heaven eventually. And, you know, Bernard is a Christian now. He's been converted and he thinks I should if I want to go to heaven where you will go.
Go, eventually. You talk as if it's a train trip across the Pyrenees.
Oh, train? No. I remember sitting on my luggage in the aisle all the way from Nice to Paris. No, thank you. No train trip.
Then perhaps like it was in the Ford during the First War.
Oh, that would be charming. You sitting high up in the driver's seat and me beside you.
Issuing injunctions and commands.
You never had any sense of direction.
And yours is certainly going peculiar. Are you going senile?
I'm going to heaven.
You are getting older.
Yes, I am. I am old. I have been asked to do an article, a survey of haute couture in Paris.
And with that, there is a connection?
Yes, it is to be called 50 years of French fashion.
And
Well, I doubt there is anyone else alive whose memory goes back that far. Yes, I am old.
in 1894,
Oh God, 1894, so long ago.
I was a student at the Harvard Annex.
Radcliffe, my dear, the name was changed years ago.
And I wrote it then, and it is true today, that I fiercely and defiantly declare that I won't believe, and it is still true today, I do not believe in heaven.
Nevertheless, I do intend that both of us shall go there.
Where are you going now?
To Rome. Well, to make arrangements to go to Rome.
To Rome.
Yes. To see if I can see if the Pope will see me.
The Pope?
Yes. Arrangements must be made for Rome and heaven. In that order, I would suppose.
I'm sure the Pope will see Alice. Mama Woojums. She's really most Jewish, you know. So you probably figured out those last images were the actual photographs of the real Gertrude and Alice. Oh, I'm so glad we have time. Okay, so the first time we presented this video, we recorded it in the summer of 21. And we, it's in a past sermon on the website if you want to watch it. It's August 1st of 21. And after the video, I tried to summarize the lives of these two intriguing people, but it was pretty much impossible. First of all, they're very, very highly intelligent. A lot of it was over my head. But anyway, if you want to know more about them, there is an absolute plethora of information online. A couple things you might be wondering, though, about Alice especially. The song Alice's Restaurant is not about Alice B. Toklas, although it was written in the 60s when Alice B. Toklas brownies were popular. Anybody heard of Alice B. Toklas brownies? So, they are brownies that contain pot. And there's another song called I Love You, Alice B. Toklas that was made into a movie. And it was about her, but it was really mostly about the brownies. And the story about that is kind of funny. Since Alice was a gifted writer and also an excellent cook, she was asked to write a cookbook. So she asked many of her friends to submit recipes for this cookbook. And one of her friends submitted a recipe for hashish brownies. And she did not read the recipes that she put into the cookbook. So it kind of appeared in there by accident. And the cookbook was published in 1954. And to this day, people talk about Alice B. Toklas brownies. So anyway, sorry, throw that out. But I would like to focus on a different topic now. Now, in the video, Alice believes that she is speaking with Gertrude after she has died. And she decides that she wants to go to heaven because she thinks Gertrude will be there. Now, this is historically accurate. It's true that during her life, Gertrude stated that she did not believe in heaven. And it's also true that Alice converted to Christianity after Gertrude died because she thought that she would have a better chance of reuniting with her in the afterlife. Now, here's a quote I found from Gertrude Stein from one of her books. The book was called Wars I Have Seen. She wrote many, many books, and her writing style is very unique. If anybody is more familiar with her, I'd love for you to talk about that. Anyway, this is what she wrote, and I think she's talking about her view of the afterlife in this quote. Anybody can understand that there is no point in being realistic about here and now. No use at all, not any. There is no realism now. Life is not real. It is not earnest. It is strange, which is an entirely different matter. Now, this quote sounded a little like UUism to me. And since this is a time of year that it is said that the veil between the worlds is thin, Halloween coming up, I thought that we could have a little discussion about heaven. Now, I know this is a sensitive topic, but it's one that I've often thought we should bring up more often. I searched for some information about Unitarian Universalists and their beliefs in the afterlife. And there really wasn't very much. But I found one UU minister, a Reverend Beth Dana from the First Unitarian Church of Dallas, did a sermon on this topic in September of 2019. It was called Unitarian Universalists and the Afterlife. You can watch it on YouTube if you're interested. You can just look it up. Now, here's a couple quotes that this UU minister said. When asked what UUs believe about the afterlife, my answer is fairly simple. We catch glimpses of the afterlife in our experiences of love, but we haven't been there yet, so we probably don't know the fullness of what it is. And then she goes on to say, the love of our lives survives death and brings us into even greater harmony with the divine. So I think that's maybe all I'm going to give you to go on now. And I would like to open it up. We probably have about 12 minutes that we can have an open discussion. And feel free to comment on the video you saw, the quotes I read, the reading, or anything else you might want to say. I just think this might be kind of interesting. So raise your hand and an usher will bring your microphone, or if you want, you can come up and use this one. Oh, and please say your name too, because we'd like to get to know you. Good try though. I think there was somebody over here.
Is this on? I had a very good friend, and he and I often talked about the Big Bang Theory And we became UUs together and often talked about what was out there, what was left. So in 2018, he died, and he died very quickly, very suddenly. And it was in April. And I came here on that day to help with the rummage sale. Remember when we had the rummage sale? And so I brought 2 pairs of shoes along, and I had my comfy shoes on to help with the rummage sale. And then I went back out to my car, and then I met my son and grandson for lunch to celebrate my birthday. It was one of those days when it was well into the 90s, and my daughter and her family were in Europe. So anyway, I was out and about that day, and when we got to the restaurant, I changed back into my nice shoes, got out of those old comfy ones, put the other ones down in my car, and thought, well, okay, I went off to lunch, and then I did some other things that day. And then at one point, I reached for my comfy shoes because I was tired of wearing my nice shoes, and there was only one there. No, there weren't any. They were simply gone. And so I thought, was I so careless that I changed my shoes in the parking lot and dropped them on the ground? And so I went back to Wildfire, and I brought, I think I had one, and I brought the shoe in, and I said, I'm missing one. Would you mind looking in the lost and found? See if you can see it. And they smiled, said, yes, we'll go look. Kind of like humoring this old woman. Anyway, they came back and said, no, we didn't find it. And so I came back the next day because I lived nearby, and I knew the parking lot would be empty, and I was sure I was going to see my shoe out there. I had looked in the front seat, I had looked in the back seat, I looked underneath the seats, I looked everywhere. Okay, so no shoe. So anyway, when I got home, I drove in the garage, and I reached for my purse, and there were both my shoes lined up ever so neatly in front of the passenger seat. And so I said, oh, Bill, I got it. Okay. There's something out there. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you that I had flowers delivered that day in the 90-degree heat that sat at my front door for 5 hours. And when I came home, I thought, well, these are toast. And they lasted as if they had never been touched for 6 days. So I think he was trying to tell me there's something out here, because he'd only been dead 2.5 months or so, 3 months, something like that. So that's my story.
Thanks. Actually, in this sermon that from this Reverend Beth Dana, she talks about experiences people have after someone has died, similar to that, and how whenever she talks about it at church, people come up to her and ask her in hush, talk about this, tell stories like that in hushed tones, and she was encouraging people to share more of stories like that because there's nothing wrong with that. And I know Lorna Prell had done a talk here and shared some similar stories. And I also have stories like that too. So I'm sure many of us have had. How many of you have had experiences like that? Wow, that's wonderful. What do you think about that?
My name is McGirt, and I have been going to a liberal Catholic church for the last 15 years before we moved here in Stockholm, Wisconsin. And my priest was Wally, who was a scientist and a liberal Catholic priest. And he has proven to us through science that we don't actually exist. If they look at the smallest part of us, it's air. We don't actually exist. But the scientists believe that we possibly are a reflection. And I'm always astounded by Wally. You never know what he's going to say next, but he really believes that, scientists have no idea where the soul is. They can't prove there's a soul, and they don't believe in the soul. And So that's why he became a priest, because he knows there's a soul.
Thank you.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, but I spend precious little time thinking about after I'm dead. I mean, the whole world ends after I die. Hello. Yeah, and yeah, of course we were told so many stories when we were, being indoctrinated in the private Catholic school, but I have since, other than having conversations with my mother, who's been gone now for quite a number of years, or I see her hand, at the end of my arm. Oh, and this is mother's too. Thanks, Ma. The high blood pressure, all that stuff you get that you didn't want, but I don't know. I guess I don't do too much thinking about if somebody's trying to send me a message.
Yeah, it is on. Thank you. I mean, I think these are wonderful stories, and everyone has their own experiences. I have never had anything like that. I just, I guess in my memories, and maybe seeing certain things I might do or say that might be similar to something my mom did, like you said, Fran. And I just find heaven at different times, what I consider heaven, in different experiences I have in the world. Something that's going on in the natural world, something that's going on around certain people, or just that community. And I'm not, I think all of your personal experiences are wonderful. I only get concerned when there are people, I guess mostly Christians, who worry so much about the afterlife at the risk of not caring about as much about what's going on here. I'm not saying anybody here is doing that. I don't mean that at all, but that would be my bigger concern. Otherwise, I think, whatever works, get you through. So.
This is Steve again. I actually think heaven, hopefully, is the way I'm remembered after I die. Everyone's certain I should be there. And it's obviously a nice way you're trying to come up with a way to teach people how to be good. So you don't teach them that they're going to hell if they're good. But basically in many ways like Fran, once I'm gone, I'm gone. But you'd like to leave the world a better place than it was when you came here. And you'd like to have a good effect on the future.
Leslie Swenson. So we have a wonderful song to help us with something we really don't know anything about. And it goes something, I only remember one line. It goes, "Let the mystery be."
I don't usually quote Mark Twain, but he said something like, "Go to heaven for the climate and hell for the company."
That's great. I just wanted to comment on what you said earlier, Heidi. So you're kind of saying that the word heaven to you might be also what, some of us would identify as, whatever is beyond this world, or the divine, or things we don't understand, or, how people have these connections to nature and they feel something when they're out in nature, that kind of thing. So those, to me, in my head, those are kind of two different things. But I really like the thought that maybe those are the same thing. I don't know, I really like that comment. Anybody else? Well, thank you all for tolerating this. And it's something that I kind of always wanted to do. So I will then turn it over to you.
We're available for autographs after this service. We'd like for you to join us downstairs for refreshments after this service. And here are some closing words. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus we do covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life.
And now will you please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook for the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say